What's going on, everybody? It is Tuesday night, 8 o'clock on the East Coast. It's 7 o'clock here in spring-like Minnesota. We hit 52 degrees today. I'm going to blame it on El Nino rather than, the impending doom of climate change and all of that. But I'm going to take it for a Florida boy in, February 6th here in Minnesota. I'm doing A-OK. It's nice. I'm shipping out. Actually, I'll be shipping tomorrow, man. So that's pretty cool. It's nice here, and I hope y'all are enjoying where you're at. And I'm glad to have you tonight. Thanks for joining. We got Brian Carter from BC's Balls on the show, straight out of Knoxville, Tennessee. If you haven't met Brian before, he's doing really killer stuff, a lot of volume, and that's going to be kind of the theme of the show tonight. And on top of that, he's just a wrecking ball of personality, charisma. We're gonna keep the train on the tracks. Maybe not. We'll see. No, we'll have a fun time tonight. I'm excited to hang out. I met Brian and Tinley. I'll tell you that story in a little bit. But stick around. We got Brian Carter from BC's Balls on the show tonight. Not too many announcements other than I hope that y'all are well. 22 of you out of the gate. Thanks for being here. I know you could be spending your time doing any number of other things, yet you are here. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. Let me adjust my audio here. 1 second. It's distracting me. I was trying to just push through it and it's just distracting me. There we go. I had a big show this weekend, man. It was really good. So Cold-Blooded Expos, not Cold-Blooded Cafe. That's a different Cold-Blooded Cafe I advertise with. Use promo code proper11. Cold-Blooded Expos, just a great show. I vended with them here in Minneapolis this past weekend. It was the second time I've done that show. It was great, man. We were at a new venue. Some drama caused us to have to move. I say us. Caused Jason and Cold-Blooded to have to move the venue, not quite last minute, but did really great. Found a great new venue, still brought people in the door. And I don't know, maybe it's early tax return season. Maybe things are changing. The market's at all-time highs. Inflation's flattening out. Who knows? It was a great show. Maybe my hard work for my own brand is paying off. I can give myself some credit too. Whatever it was, very good show. I'm excited. It was great to meet everybody. If you're new and watching the show from being at the Cold-Blooded Expo, thank you. I appreciate you guys. So that was fun. I had a really good time with that. Next show for me is actually another Cold-Blooded show. It's down in Des Moines, Iowa, about 3 hours away from here. I have not vended in Des Moines before. So, if you're in Iowa, I need a little help. Vouch for me. Tell your friends about me. I'll be in Des Moines on February 18th is where I'll be. And that is another Cold-Blooded Expo. I hear it's a small show, but I hear it's a very, very good show. A couple of the vendors actually told me it's one of their favorites of the year. So come check it out. There'll be cool people there. It was great to hang out with Troy, Best Dressed Balls, Chris at Epic Style. Oh, we got video lag. That's going to drive me nuts. How's the audio? Somebody comment. Hopefully the audio is good. We'll catch up on the video lag, hopefully. Or I'll just be doing the max headroom thing. Just look at this. All right, we're getting there now. Chris, Epic Style, Troy, Best Dressed Balls, Joe and Sheena at JSA, Mark and Krista at MBK. Everybody was really great to hang out with this weekend. It was cool. Didn't quite feel like a 2-day show back in my old stomping grounds, but it's starting to feel a little more normal, a little more like home. I'm getting that flow of relationships, friends. It's good. It's good. I like it. Troy put on a nice dinner for us. He didn't cook, but he arranged a fun evening the night before too. So all those things, very, very cool. Also, speaking of feeling like home and new things here, I've got a gig tomorrow night. If you're in Minnesota, if you're watching locally, I'll be playing in Eagan, just outside of, or it's a suburb of Minneapolis. It's all Minneapolis. Eagan Arms Irish Pub. I'll be sitting in with a band called the Donegal Band, and we'll see how it goes. Should be good fun. Their guitarist and singer's out of town. They asked, I said, okay, let's give it a shot, man. So tomorrow night, I think showtime's 7. I got to be there at 6:15, so probably 7. I should know these things, but I think 7. And the rodents are going great. I'm not ready to deliver any or distribute any, but I am absolutely ready to have people on the list. If you're looking for ASFs locally, I'm not freezing, I'm not shipping them. These are just live ASFs. That's all that there is. And the first delivery dates, it's February 6th. I'd say in 2 weeks, February 20th, somewhere around there that week. So if you're 2 weeks out and you're looking for a good ASF supplier, I don't have a huge amount and I'm not going to overcommit, because really the biggest problem with rodents is not getting rodents. It's getting rodents consistently. It's having your one person that you need to feed 50 snakes a week or 50 snakes every 2 weeks, and that person's going to come through for you. So I'm not going to overcommit. Probably looking for, 2-3 clients at the moment, and I want to stay committed to you. So if you're in the area and you're looking, let me know, and I'd love to take care of you. So 58 people, man. Brian's bringing the people to the show tonight. I'm excited for this. So I met Brian. Actually, initial introductions were made through Robin at REDLINE, another great example of relationships, business and relationships. Maximize those things when you get a chance to, everybody. But I met Brian at Tinley in October, and it was great to meet him. Had incredible stuff on his table. Nice guy. I went out of my way to decorate tonight with my beloved Florida Gators flag. And I showed it to him in the green room, and he's like, "Oh, that's really cool, man. That's my favorite game of the year." And I'm like, "Man, you're supposed to get riled up. I'm trying to give you a little, little nudging here." But what I'm saying, he's a great dude, and it was very cool to hang out and get to meet him in Tinley. I'm glad to have him on the show. So let's hop to it. There's 60 of you waiting for him. I'm just running my yapper here. So for the very first time, please welcome Brian Carter from Knoxville, Tennessee, to the Proper Royals stage. What's up, Brian? How are you, man?
Hey, Adam. What's up, man? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. We've been trying to work this out for a little while, and scheduling kind of goes in these chunks. Like I'll schedule 2 months out, and then not worry about booking, and then do 2 months. So, anyhow, I'm really glad to have you. Thank you for coming on the show too, man. You got a lot going on.
Yeah, it's I stay busy, that's for sure. Yeah, it's a lot of work. But I've done it a long time. I mean, I think a lot of people underestimate, you get a few snakes, you're like, this is cool. I've had snakes for God, since the mid '80s, and there's nothing to compare having, 5 or 6 pets to, having 250 breeders and 400 offspring and a couple of different species, and things like that, plus maintaining a rodent room and pretty much doing it all myself. My son helps some, but it's a specific task on a specific day, and and he gets paid pretty well to do it. So
I was going to say you're mostly a one-man show on that, right?
yeah, my wife comes to shows with me. She really enjoys going to the shows and vending and meeting people, and she's just awesome at that kind of stuff. But I mean, she's not a tub scrubber. That's not happening. I mean, she won't
I
even
get that.
she won't even walk in the rodent room.
Right.
I have people want me to bring them rodents to a show, and she's like, nope, not riding in the car with them. I can smell them a mile down the road. But but no, my son does some of the grunt work out there. Like he dumps and sprays all the tubs and preps the tubs for the next week and brings food around and makes sure I'm stocked up on everything and fills the waters and he does all that stuff. He comes home on Thursday. He goes to UT. He plays in the Pride of the Southland marching band there. But
Cool.
But he's 5 miles away, so he gets he's going to get the money anyway. I might as well get something out of it, right?
Hey, you know what? That's it's funny. The older that I get, the more I think about that. Both from I'm lucky my father's still alive, and he's like, I don't want to get this repair done on this house. It's a fortune. I'm like, I'll give you the money. I'd rather you do it now, right, than me have to do it later when I get the house. Exactly. Like, and then vice versa with my own son, when I'm like, may as well put in the time and the money now because he's going to get it anyhow. So, it's kind of I know you meant it as a joke, but lately I've been
No, but
thinking, I'm like,
well, it's not. I mean, not really. I mean, I said it jokingly, but it's not.
right,
I
yeah,
mean, he's a college freshman, and I want him to be able to pay attention to school and have a great college experience. And
yeah,
if what I if what I can contribute to him, financially for helping me with something that I hate doing, works out good for both of us, and he gets a little bit of spending money, beer money, whatever,
right, right.
for college, and I don't have to mess with dirty Reddit tubs, and that's a win-win.
That is a win-win. I've just gotten into the rodent game, and my wife similarly. She won't even look. She thinks that she's not grossed out by them. She thinks that they're way too cute, and she'll fall in love with them. She's like, I can't even look at those things, knowing what's going to happen to them. I'm like, well,
Yeah,
that's our dinner every night. That's that's the circle. That's how it goes.
Yeah, my wife and I have been married for 23. Oh, well, this year will be 23 years. We've been together 25. And I've had
Yeah.
snakes every moment of every year of that. And it was that Tinley, no, it was the Tinley show prior. It was the spring Tinley show when she held her first snake. Like she
Oh
had
wow,
never,
really?
yeah, she had never held a snake. I mean, it turns out you get enough beers, and there's no telling. But we, no, actually it's from it was from that night that was the thumbnail picture. I had won that snake in the U.S. Ark auction, and I was
Oh,
holding it
cool.
there to take a picture, and I went to the bar to grab a couple more beers, and came back to the table, and she was holding it, and like it didn't even register at first. I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell? And then Alyssa from Full Throttle was standing there, and she had kind of talked her into it and talked her through it and said I'd think it was cool. So yeah, that was kind of cool. And the next day she was, as they would sell, she'd grab one out of a deli cup, ask me if I wanted the male or the female, put it in the display,
Oh, really?
take another
Nice.
one out. Oh yeah, dude, it was night and day. She just had to get over that initial, fear that she's held for decades, now.
Yeah. So tell us, I think you alluded to it. I think you said about 250 breeders. You're producing about 400 hatchlings a year. Is that about right on stats? Just to give a frame of reference.
No, I mean, that's the ultimate goal. I'm not quite there yet. I've got 252 tubs. There's quite a few empty tubs in here. I've got 172 breeders. I'll be pairing 105 females this season.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I have 410 hatchling tubs. I currently only have about 140, roughly 140 hatchlings left. I've got, I think, 45 holdbacks in there in the 10 series tubs, because this is the adult room. Across the hall is the hatchling room, and then the hognose are in my son's room. What's up, Robin? Thank you, man. Or in my son's room, because they, I don't have a large group of those, but a small group of those goes a long way when they start spitting those eggs out. So,
oh, I got you. Yeah, I don't have any experience with hognose, but they go pretty quick for you.
Yeah, I've had them 3 years now. This is I brumated on the third winter. Probably could have bred a couple last year. I didn't want to push them. I wanted to learn a little bit more. I mean, I've bred a lot of colubrids, milk snakes, king snakes, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it was, I've never had to brumate, like not proper brumation. I've always used light cycle only. I've never used him. So this year we picked up a Wilbanks incubator that cools down, and Josh and Alicia with the Herp and Harbins have just been great mentors, for the hognose.
Oh yeah,
and they're Tennessee fans, Tennessee alumni. We tailgate every home game, so that they're over here, and she's our vet too for our other animals, and
nice.
So they're going on the boat with us. We go to football games, and they've become really good friends, and they've been kind of giving me because I'm nervous as hell about it. Like, I'm just like I was my first season with ball pythons, and just like I was my first season with every animal I've ever bred, because, I don't know what to do. And, luckily ball pythons don't eat the males like the hognose females can decide, shit, I'm going to eat this male, and they eat their eggs. I mean, they're pretty wild, but I have really enjoyed interacting with them and learning about them, and I'm looking forward. I'm actually raising temps right now, so we're within 3 weeks of pairing starting, and it's different than ball pythons because they're all pretty much going to go 4 to 8 weeks after being paired. And then I think it's 8 to 12 weeks later, if they're going to lay a second clutch, they'll drop that second clutch.
Oh, cool. Nice. Nice. Well, so to go all the way back to sort of the beginning and the learning about you, you said in the green room you had work to do this morning. So do you still keep another business going, or another full-time job, or another job? Where's the, people are always curious about that. What's the context there?
Yeah, I've worked for the same automotive group since 2006. I've done just about every job there, and I don't know. It was about 6 months prior to COVID. I just kind of, I don't know. I kind of got burned out a little bit with it, and I
get
stepped
it.
back.
Yeah.
I stepped back from being, more of a general manager type, back to mainly handling our digital assets, digital marketing, that sort of stuff. And then COVID hit, and I was the only person in the dealership who could do their job from home. And they sent me home to do it, and our numbers shot through the roof. And I kept thinking every month, well, let's look at it next month. Well, let's look at it next month. And it went from March, April, May. We had our vacation in June. They're like, look, you got a vacation. Let's look at it in July. And then when I got back in July, I went in and sat down, and we kind of worked out a deal to work at home, which is just, I mean, it's great. It's more challenging than I expected, to be honest with you, because I am kind of on call all the time. I don't really have a day off, and I'm always at work. So,
I gotcha.
And that's probably why we go so hard at every show we go to. I mean, it's like, college days all over again. I'll be 54 next Sunday.
Finally loose.
Yeah,
right?
I'll be 54 next Sunday, but that's one of the few times that I don't feel like I'm constantly at work. And that's just for work. I may not work a lot of hours a day, but I work a few minutes out of every hour that I'm awake, for the most part. If someone sends a lead into the dealership, the first response always comes from me.
That is 24/7. Yeah, that's forever. Yeah, that's all the time then, huh?
Yeah, I generally answer leads from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. About 9 p.m. is when I'll kind of answer that last round and be done with it for the day. And then I'll pick back up the next day. But even though we're closed on Sunday, Monday's a busy day around here for me because I'm feeding adults and doing the grow outside of the rodent room too. So I don't want to wake up with 30 leads to try and get caught up. And I want the customers for the dealership to get immediate responses. So usually Sunday, I try to kind of kick it back and check it once in the morning, and then maybe again, mid-evening, and I get first responses out to the people. But I manage the inventory feed, the digital marketing, all that stuff. And that translates directly into what I do with the snakes. I mean, because it's not really that different at all, other than the fact that, there's, cars are not a living being, obviously, but people are people. And when you're used to working in that digital realm, you kind of learn what sort of customer service level people appreciate. And we've got a lot of reviews on Morph Market, and they almost all talk about customer service, because I ship 2 today, and I go overboard on communication. I let them know on Sunday if this is going to be the shipping week, what days are available, put that on the calendar. Text them when I make the label. I text them when I drop off. Text them when it's ready for pickup the next day. It doesn't matter if I'm shipping 14 or 2. I mean, I've got all those windows open on my phone. I wake up, make sure they're where they're supposed to be. And if not, the real rock star of shipping, AJ.
AJ's awesome. Yeah, I know exactly who AJ is.
I love Robin like a brother, but at the same time, AJ has been my shipping person since pretty much day one. And she doesn't make herself super visible, but she is an absolute rock star, and I think she deserves a shout out.
I gotta say, obviously full transparency, Robin's REDLINE logo is right there, and it's there for a reason. But even now, I mean, just like you're talking about with the experience that I have and how often I've shipped, I still almost call before, I wouldn't say every shipment, but particularly now that I'm in Minnesota, it's a whole different story than shipping in the South. And I get their input on every shipment, and I don't go, hey, I'm Adam from Proper Royal. Maybe they know, maybe they don't. I don't say who I am. I just say, hey, I'm Adam. Good morning. And, the team there is great. They walk you through it. I'm sure that they have a list of, hey, here's this species, here's the size, I'm sure they have the specs that they look for, but it's never rushed. It's never, oh my gosh, why are you asking me this? And it's always all about the animals. And it's really great. It's really great.
It's been amazing. I mean, from the user interface all the way down to the customer service they provide.
Yep.
I hear so many, people like, really the old, I'm old, but I mean, the old school breeders that have been doing this for 30 years, 40 years steadily for, they're like, it's just a label, I'm going to go where it's cheapest. Well, I mean, if you get in touch with Redline, probably they are going to be the cheapest. Not only that, I'm a firm believer that the most important relationship you can maintain as a breeder of animals on any sort of scale, if shipping is part of your business model or a big part of your business model, is the relationship with your shipping company. FedEx gets it right 98% of the time. So 98% of the time, those people are right. That it is just a label, but it's that 2%.
That's when you need it.
Is it a $12,000 snake in a box that's stuck in Indy and it's supposed to be a snowstorm tomorrow? Is it a shipment to Puerto Rico like we sent last week that they have to make the label for you and kind of remind you how to do it because it's been years.
Right.
And that kind of stuff. So yeah, they're awesome. And I know you've got a code there. Robin passes around the Robin 60 code. And if anybody, doesn't know in 2 shipments that they like them, I've got a code BC60 that gets you 60% off a third. So if, anybody out there listening wants to give them a try, you're not convinced on the first 2 using the Robin 60 code, use the BC60 code. That'll get you 60% off a third. And, that you can see what kind of service they have because it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. If you don't, and to your point too, there's going to be some people that forever say, well, it's price, it's this, and that's it. I'm with you. I think Robin's prices are probably better anyhow, but even if they're not, otherwise, pay it. It's just like the same thing that we would tell somebody, if this is the right animal for you and you're confident in buying from me, why are you worried about $25 or $50 difference if it's the right animal in the future? Now, doesn't mean we should go taking advantage of people, and I suspect you and I are cut from a similar cloth when it comes to service. If we can surprise somebody and delight somebody and make their day, we're probably going to do it. On the other hand, if it's the right animal and it's what you need and you want to feel confident in who you're buying from, like, just pay the people. I bought some animals this weekend and I was like, I want to make sure that you're taken care of. This is it. I'm not asking for a discount. I'm not asking for anything else. I want that animal. I want to pay you for it. That's what it's worth,
Yeah. And I mean,
so I think it's the same with shipping.
I mean, I have it kind of lagged out on me there.
You back? Yep. We got you.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. I can hear
you.
Yeah. But no, I mean, like, we can get tied up in the, the ROI and the funds and all the math behind the business and everything, but there's still nothing like when that person gets their first snake and
right.
you get to hand it to them, and I'm one of those guys that shows that, I just don't wholesale let people handle my snakes. I've got pretty strict biosecurity standards. I'm not gonna, I'm not going to take chances like that. I know a lot of people say that that's important. And if it is important, then that's absolutely fine. Lami's in the house.
Legend. Talk about the old school guys. Now we're talking.
Man. Yeah, he's the man. I tell you, I like him. But we, I know, some people keep one snake that is their handling snake that they take to shows that always stays in a perpetual quarantine in a different area of the house and all that stuff. My thought process is there's plenty of people that let people handle snakes at shows. I mean, if someone's wanting to buy one, I mean, that's a different story. But, holding one just for the sake of holding one, I just feel like for me, there's just too much risk.
That's kind of how I mean, even this weekend, I was kind of like, even a couple parents, I said to them, there's a lot of people that let you hold a snake. It's a busy day. It's a business. I want to get through. If it slows down, we'll come talk and the kids can wash up. But otherwise, and I'm with you. I'm torn on it because it's important to grow the industry. On the other hand, there should be a respect that goes both ways, and they are live animals. It's not just pass it around and 3 kids grabbing and pulling.
Yeah, I can't recall anybody ever getting upset about that. Most people are like, I completely understand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's it's just, you know, it's one of those things that, yeah, we probably could sell a few more of the, you know, pet level type snakes if we just did that. But are we creating a customer, but are we creating an impulse purchase because it was cool to hold a snake and now I want one? And what all do I need? Well, you need to go
That's
over here
true.
and buy
Well,
this. You need
yeah,
to go over there and
right.
buy that. And that's a recipe for a phone call 5 days later that my snake's not eating. I've tried 9 times. You know, what I mean,
Yeah.
what's going on? And you know,
Well,
and so I came up with a one-page care sheet. People's attention spans are a little shorter. I've got a more comprehensive one I can email, and I save that for when the problems inevitably arise from time to time. But I've got a one-pager that's pretty simple that I give people, and if people are thinking about it, I give them the care sheet and my card, and I'm like, take this home, read over this, do some research. You know,
mhm.
make sure that this is right for you. You know, I don't vet every buyer that buys one of my snakes, but I'm happy to help any beginner, you know, learn. And if I don't have what you are looking for, and I know someone else that does, I'm going to walk you over and introduce you because I think that's one of the things I love the most about doing this, even though these amazing animals, is the people. You know, I mean, it's one of the best communities I've ever been a part of.
No, I agree with you. And it's I was going to ask you earlier, working from home. So I'm guessing at a dealership, man, there's people working the floor. There's the managers. There's the parts department. There's the guys and girls detailing the cars. There's the service
Oh yeah.
area. So I mean, so you're around all kinds of people, and that's how I felt in the restaurant. Like, yeah, I was the guy in the suit on the floor, but I got my chefs, I got my cooks, I got my service staff, bartenders. Do you miss? Is it a relief and nice to be away from that? Do you miss it? Is it a little bit of both?
Whew.
What's your feeling on that?
I don't miss it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going to be honest. I mean, it's you know, I spent several years in the restaurant industry as a very young man. You know, I used to, you know, nothing fancy or fine dining. I lost your picture there, Adam. I'm not sure.
I've lost my picture too, but it
Oh,
seems
okay.
the audio's going, so
Yeah, no,
we'll keep it going. You know.
I can hear you. I'll keep going. But
All
you
right.
know, I worked in kitchens for a long time. I worked on the line for a long time. You know, and I really enjoyed that too. But it's not something I would want to go back to doing. And you know, managing people in a retail setting is just not something I'm interested in going back and doing. I prefer much more that one-on-one interaction I can have with a customer, and then I can hand one of the salespeople, you know, a customer who's qualified, who's interested, whose questions have already been answered, and literally all they have to do is come in, make sure they like the car, and sign the paperwork. So,
Right. Right. I've gone back to the lo-fi laptop camera. I'm not sure what's
oh,
going on with my
I
digital
hear
cam
you.
or my with my Canon, but we got a backup. We're good. Audio still seems good, so we're in a-okay shape, I think, man. Um, yeah, I'm with you. I don't know if it's outgrown or just got burnt out or I mean, I don't, it's hard to call doing something 27 years burning out. I did my time.
Yeah,
But yeah, managing people in a retail setting. And honestly, those are the people that I really loved with it. The customers in a retail setting are really tough too. And that all you talked about COVID a little bit, that all got magnified in that time. And similar to what you're talking about, I resigned and I started a consulting business, and they ended up being my first client. They said, well, you have the institutional knowledge, and May will be 3 years that they've kept up that arrangement. So I do work for them for a couple hours a day, and then I'm down here. And like you say, I check email probably 4 times a day because I'm not
yeah.
billed to be on call, but I also like the arrangement that we have. So I put a little extra into the pot. You know what I mean?
Well, I go through probably 10 charges a day, you know, on the AirPods just from all the notifications I get. You know,
Oh
sometimes it
yeah.
does get to be a little bit much, but you know, I get a notification every time someone opens an email, every time someone sends an email, every time a new lead comes in, if a customer shows up at the dealership. You know, and they're, you know, put into a salesperson's name. I get a notification so I can make sure they're not getting any automated emails anymore. There's nothing more embarrassing than having someone buy a car and the next day say, "Hey, we've been trying to get in touch with you." You know, what I mean, so
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
the salespeople aren't that great at communicating with me that they have sold this customer or that customer, and sometimes they'll create a duplicate customer entry. I'm getting boring here, but they do things that make my job hard at times. So
Yeah.
I have to be extra vigilant there because I don't want the dealership to look bad. I mean, they've been good to me. I'm not crazy about the business anymore like I used to be. I used to be like hardcore into it. I've done it since 1999. You can't do something that long and not be, at least somewhat into it. But I think like I got stuck chasing the money and not happiness, and doing that at the same time. And, it's a double-edged sword, right? It's put us in the position to be a little bit more selective in what we do now.
That's
But
right.
at the same time, you think about, we're empty nested now. Our youngest is in college. You know what I mean? It's just me and my wife, and which is, kind of awesome, to be honest with you. If my son's listening, I love you. but it's kind of neat to just be me and her, because we weren't sure how that was gonna go because it's been so long since it's been that way. My daughter graduated in December, and her and my grandson moved to Mesa, Arizona.
Oh, wow. That's a
And
long stretch.
and then my son started college the August before, so kind of all at one time. We had our grandson 4 nights a week sometimes, most weeks, and then all of a sudden they're in Arizona and we're here, and it's like, what do we do? Well, you watch Ted Lasso, of course. That's, that's what that's what you do. I even watched the Florida series about Florida
Nice.
in the 90s. So what was it called? The Swamp or something? Okay, it was a great Netflix show.
Yeah, that was I got there in 98, man. So some of that hit pretty close to home. But I thought that was interesting too. I've been thinking about that a lot lately when you said you were working and probably chasing the money more than the passion. But I also think that's a life stage. Like you say, you probably had younger kids at the time. You probably maybe were building up a new house or building up retirement savings. And I thought about that a lot too, because there's days where I'm truly happy. I'm truly thankful every day. And there's days where I go, why did I do what I did for so long? And I go, well, yeah, because you needed to, dummy. Like that's what got me, not you, dummy. I'm a dummy in this.
Well, no, I know.
When I say that to myself, I'm like, duh, dummy, you had to do it to get to this moment. So I have to remind myself not to get resentful and cynical. And that helps me be a really supportive consultant as well. When I hear that in some people's voices, and I'm like, no. You're doing this now so that you can have all the joy. You're paying your future self. And yes, life can pass you by and all that stuff. So I don't claim to have all the answers. But for me, that's how I've been able to look at it and really find appreciation in that.
Yeah, it's a fine line, right? I see people at the dealership, and not just our dealership. You could go to any dealership in the United States, and you're going to see a 75-year-old man standing out front in a tie, smoking a cigarette, waiting on a customer to drive on the lot. And,
right before open, am I right? Like every dealership in America, right before open, everybody's just smoking cigarettes, getting hopped up, ready for like their big sales day, right? Like they're like just amping themselves up.
A lot of us have changed to vaping, but yeah,
right. Yeah, I know. I hear you.
But it is, I'm fortunate to work for a family that's very laid back. I mean, it's a very low pressure, customer centric environment, and it's fortunate to have come up through that because it kind of teaches you what not to do when dealing with customers, and customers are customers again. It doesn't really matter, what we're talking about, but. I've worked on 100% commission since February the 14th of 1999. I've never gone into work for one single day having earned one penny that I didn't earn while I was there. And, it takes a special kind of person to be able to do that. And because if you want to raise, you just get one. You do better. You learn something.
That's right. You don't produce.
And all that. And it's owning a business is no different. Just do better. It's not that hard. It's, breeding the snakes. Jesus, ball pythons, anybody could breed ball pythons. I don't mean to belittle what we do here, because the breeding's the easy part. it's getting the babies established, getting the babies listed, getting the babies seen, the marketing and the advertising it requires to get the number of conversions you want to get on your morph market store, your website, or
Right.
whatever avenue you're using to sell. And then you've got shows. I mean, I'd say we probably sell 5% local, 15% at shows, and 80% online. So that
I was going to
revenue
ask
stream
where you
is,
see that. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, my first real show was fall of 22 in ARBC Arlington. And I mean, we produced, man, probably close to 1,000 snakes by then, I'm sure. And, it was all, and all the, it was all online, and the local shows here aren't that great. I mean, I was talking to Troy when I was going to FedEx, he was going to FedEx, and I called Troy for a minute because my FedEx drive is kind of my Zen drive. It's only about 15 minutes each way, but it's when I kind of catch up on the phone with people that
can't catch emails. Yeah,
exactly.
Troy at Balls and Strikes or Best Dressed?
No, Best Dressed. I know both.
Yeah.
I know Troy at Balls and Strikes.
I wasn't sure what you.
Troy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he was going down to Ames, I think he said, to drop off something. And then he and his wife were going out to dinner, and then he said he'd usually pop in about halfway through and then catch the first half on the flip.
Oh yeah, he'll have something smart and uncomfortable to say. It's coming.
Yeah.
Just stay tuned.
It's okay.
Yeah,
he'll have a mouthful of brown sugar, so it'll be all right. Oh man.
So, I mean, look, you pack a whole lot of things in. I'm over here making notes of what to circle back to. So I'm just going to constantly circle back on things.
Please do. I can go off in left field, man.
No, you're good, man. And that's what I was saying. Like, I purposely don't write the questions because I would have never thought we would say, well, what are the inner workings and, interpersonal relationships of a car dealership that's going to apply to the show, but it fit and it works. So I like staying curious in the moment, talk about a little bit. You talked about marketing. Talk a little bit about what strategy works for you or strategy that you employ, because in my own experience, I found if I rely solely on morph market or I use that as too much of a safety net, honestly, I find that my results, and that's not me, my results go down. It's not me knocking morph market, because morph market's incredibly important to the industry. And I know it's hip right now to knock Darian. I like what he's doing. I like that there's excitement and energy and something new. So I value morph market a whole lot. But to put context to it, my mix would probably be 30% local, 30 to 40% shows when they're going well. Sometimes they don't go as well. And then whatever the rest, what am I at there? I'm about 65, 70%. So probably 15 and 15 is morph market. And then me just personally, what I would say, cultivating relationships. So Patreon sales, follow up, checking in on animals. Hey, this animal you bought at this time, it's growing up. I got this that might fit it. How can I help you, kind of thing. So what strategies do you employ though?
Oh man, I mean, all those. I mean, that was. I mean, you basically just gave a marketing 101 breakdown. I mean, that's exactly how you have to do it. I mean, it's, I say if you are intending, you be careful how I say this, because if your goal when you get into this is to earn income, if that's your goal, and your goal is to build a business, build a brand, build awareness, and at the end of the year, show a profit. You know what I mean? That's not a bad thing. That gets so villainized where, I mean, a lot of people are like,
right. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
He's just in it for the money, that sort of thing. And
that's safe here. That's safe ground here.
Exactly. I mean,
right.
I do operate as a business. My animals get the best care they possibly can. But as far as marketing goes, I think marketing starts the day you decide you want to do this. I mean, it started for us like in the Facebook groups, 2016, 2017. I used to either be a moderator or an admin in 2 or 3 of the largest ball python Facebook groups there were. And,
Smart.
A lot of people got to know my name at that point in time. I wasn't even really producing anything. I know people knock on getting a logo done early on. I don't. I think that's a smart idea. If you think you're going to do this, it doesn't cost very much to do. And then you can get, you can start to build brand awareness of, kind of, I think most people that go to an NARBC show now that are ball python people, you know, they see our logo, they know who we are. You know what I mean? And that kind of becomes a little bit your identity. I'm a big believer in social media marketing. You get a really big bang for your buck there. We push our ads directly to our Morph Market store on Facebook.
I was going to say, do you buy ads?
Oh yeah, I do both Google and Facebook. But
it's the best secret. It's the best secret hidden in the industry.
Yeah,
it goes so far. It's unbelievable how effective buying ads is, and people don't believe me.
I've ran a continuous ad since August. I looked at these numbers right before I got on just to kind of have them fresh in my mind, and I've already freaking forgotten most of it. But so we started running our continuous ad, which is our, you know, kind of all the time generic ad. We'll bring in another ad, like if a show's coming up, we might promote that. If we just listed a bunch of animals, I might promote that. But generally, those shorter promotions I do on Instagram and Facebook separately. But the ongoing ads through Business Suite, it's served across both platforms. And I think we've gotten somewhere like 17,000 clicks to our Morph Market store since the ad started running at around 28 cents per click. You know, so I mean, when you add that up, it doesn't add up to a lot, especially when you're dealing with, you know, higher end animals, you know, and that's part of it. The Google is more for local sales. I built my website and I built a Google My Business page for my website, which comes with, again, double-edged sword. You have to have a category, and the only applicable category is reptile pet store. So I do get a lot of phone calls looking for bulbs and, you know, that's kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But luckily, a good reptile store did open up in town that I can refer them to when they do call. But that's more for local recognition. And then we bid on a few words in a 50-mile radius of our zip code. You know, if somebody's searching snake, ball python, you know, we're going to show up. And then the website inventory just redirects to our Morph Market page, because I try to run everything through Morph Market. That's where the terms are. That's where the most recent pictures are. That's where the most updated information is. You know, I'm not going to get into the Morph Market drama because it's just dumb, to be honest with you. I mean, a man bought a company. He's running that company the way he thinks it should be ran. I don't agree with everything he's done. I don't disagree strongly with anything he's done. So it's, you know, so I might not go about some things the way he went about them, or the way he goes about them, but I'm him. I'm me and he's him. You know, I mean, that's the way. I don't particularly care for the owner or the CEO of Chick-fil-A's stance, but it's still a tasty biscuit. You know, in the morning, I mean, I'm gonna hit the drive-through. You know, there's nothing that really even compares to Morph Market out there.
There's not.
That you can list things. And, you know, I'll tell you something that, you know, a lot of people have, you know, kind of ragged on is I'm really enjoying the auctions, to be honest with you. You know, I think those are a good avenue right now in a slower time, because here's my reasoning for that. Like, you know, most of the snakes that I have listed online are listed considerably higher than they would be if I was at a show, especially like the lower end type stuff. Just because I know what all goes into it, the communication, the packaging, the scheduling, the going to the hub, the shipping, the tracking it, the box, the heat pack, you know, a lot goes into it. You know, when you go to a show, you're putting a snake in a bag, you're handing them a care sheet, asking them if they have any questions, and making sure they know how to get in touch with you. So most of the snakes, I mean, I've sold 4 snakes in the auction so far, and all 4 of those snakes brought more in the auction than they were listed on the table for at the last show that we did.
There you go. Yeah.
And, you know, and then we do free shipping on anything over $250 in the auctions. I do $75 shipping because I do no reserve auctions. I'm not going to do a reserve auction on anything. I'm not going to auction anything that I can show at Tinley. I can show at Arlington, but, you know, the stuff that would be in deli cups, that's more pet oriented type stuff. Why not let somebody get a good deal? If they're going to pay $75 for shipping and they only bid $10, then that's one less mouth I have to feed. And that's a customer that I have in the database now. You know what I mean? That's going to be happy with their purchase, you know, hopefully.
Well, so a few thoughts. One, very specifically on the auctions, I have not done any of the auctions, and I have a couple reasons for that. One being my sales are pretty good for myself. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying I'm content with them. So why risk the lower number? And I guess to your point, sure, maybe it could go higher, but I also have a little bit of self-awareness about what I'm selling, and I think the quality is high. I don't know that the caliber is exceptionally high of what I sell. So I haven't necessarily needed them, but I've enjoyed them because I've seen a whole lot more traffic coming to my pages, a lot more clicks and a lot more inquiries. I think it's like, I use the example, I can't remember if it was on this show or on the morning show. It's like going to the mall. If somebody down at the other end of the mall is running a massive sale at Macy's, I bet if I'm the little kiosk in the middle, I'm going to get some action from that. And it's happened.
Yeah, I think that was on one of the morning Joes. I remember you saying that because that stuck with me, and it's true. You know, I mean, 100%. And I know I myself have been on Morph Market probably 500% more, you know, since auction started. Mainly,
there you go.
And it's, I've only bid on 2 snakes, and I didn't win either one of them. I'm not really looking for anything, but you know, I like to kind of keep an eye on things. I like to look at it. I like to be able to see come up with a strategy for the auction. You know, I mean, we talk about too many snakes on Morph Market, but then there's people that have snakes that have been listed for 18 months that still say 92 grams and have the same picture. You know, I mean, it's like that there's some things that are just common sense that you're like, you don't get to complain if you do that. You know, I mean, it's, you know, I hear that a lot. I'm in a few Discords, you know, so I found the Discord community, you can be a little more frank, and it's a little more, you know,
it's a lot more frank. It is Wild West is what it is.
Maybe, you know, and people in the Discord tend to, you know, what's said in the Discord stays in the Discord. And, you know, we talk a lot about strategy. We, you know, share a lot of information and stuff like that. And, you know, that's one of the things that I keep consistently hearing from people who are 1 to 2 years doing this is, you know, what is this person thinking? You know, I mean, this snake's listed for 2,500. There's 10 on there listed for 1,500 or less. It's still a hatchling picture. It still says 92 grams, and it was originally listed on, you know, in May of 2022. You know, and you're like, I don't know. It just blows my mind. It's not really that hard to keep this stuff up to date, and I think a lot of people just think buyers don't care. You know, they don't care about the weight of the snake. They don't care about, you know, seeing pictures of its parents. Every snake I have listed on Morph Market has a picture of both the sire and the dam and all the clutch mates. You know, I mean, I want to be as transparent as I can possibly be, because I can't, with some of the complex genetics and, you know, combos that come out of here, I can't guarantee every codom is in every animal. I want to give the buyer the best absolute comparison to show them why I'm seeing what I'm seeing and the opinions that I've gotten from others. But in the end, if you buy, you know, fire, red stripe, leopard, spot nose, yellow belly, calico, het pied, and it doesn't prove to be yellow belly, I mean, I hate that, but I mean, I did the best I could.
You give it the best. And I think, so again, there's a couple things there, but one being, I'm amazed at a couple things. I'm amazed at the people, I say not at the people, that's not the right tone. I'm amazed that people would rather spend time and effort complaining on something that they're not going to change, or in a way that they're not going to change. To give Darian credit, he's probably the most accessible CEO that any industry could have. You can message the guy. There's 9 different ways you can get a hold of Darian, and whether he gives you the time or day or not, I don't know, but I do believe that he listens and his team listens, because he seeks so much input. So part of me is like, guys, if you hate it, go talk to Darian about it and let him know. But secondly, until another best option comes along, your time is much better spent figuring out how to work within that framework. And part of it is exactly what you're saying. Look around. What are the millions of little things you can do better versus like the one? Very few of us are superheroes. We're not going to separate ourselves from the pack. So how can you do those millions of little things just right to separate yourself from the pack? And I see it at shows too. Dirty displays versus a shiny display will sell more money than a dirty display will on the same snake, just because the buyer is more confident. I'm sure That's why you have detailers at the car dealership,
yeah,
right?
or yeah. And I mean, the biggest mistake I feel like, you know, is we've been pretty successful at most shows we've done. I mean, there's only been 2 shows we've done that haven't been profitable, but you know, it's just not acknowledging and paying attention to everyone that walks up to your table and striking up a conversation. You know, it's amazing how many, you know, and I understand we're all introverts, extroverts, whatever, you know,
Right.
but you know, I mean, believe me, that messenger message can get answered after the show. I personally don't believe in taking a chair. I don't want a chair because I
I
don't
was gonna
sit
say
down.
I don't sit
I don't
either.
sit down at a show. My wife sits down. She's welcome to sit
Yep.
down. She can do whatever she wants to do. She's,
Right.
you know, she's there to support. She'll stand up if I go to the bathroom. But, you know, I mean, I believe the, you know, and I also like working my table from in front of my table instead of behind my table.
Mm.
I hate talking over lights. You know, a lot of times if you know, I mean, that doesn't work at Tinley where there's a mob, you know,
Right.
coming
Yeah,
by
I was
all the
gonna
time.
say it's
But
a it's
but I
damn near
mean,
a jail cell
more
at Tinley. Yeah.
at more spread out shows. You know, one of the best shows we ever had was February. Well, the best show we've ever had was February Arlington of 23. I mean, it's, you know, I can't. Yeah, I'm not going to go into specifics, but it was
Sure, of course. Yeah.
probably we did better that weekend than we have every other NARBC show combined. I'll put it that way. And it
Wow.
was just
Yeah.
it was the perfect storm of things coming together. We had exactly what people were looking for. People had the money to pay for it, you know. So it worked out to
That's
be,
always the case too. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it being my wife's first show really was nice, you know, because now she's bought in, you know, hardcore. She's like, yeah,
Oh
go ahead
yeah.
and get
Oh, to
those.
get to get the full
Go
buy-in. Yes, good revenue always helps.
go ahead and drop the 14 grand on racks. It's okay. It's not a big deal. You know,
That's
she's
right.
like, are you sure you need that? But no, I mean, it's, you know, it's just listening to people. You know, you can say way more with this than you can with this. I mean, that's a rule in selling everything. If you listen to what your customers are telling you, they will tell you how to sell them something if they need to be sold. And a lot of times people are just sitting there waiting for you to ask them for their business, you know,
Yeah.
and be felt like they're valued. And that's what creates those customers that come back again and again and again. Every show that we go to, there's people that specifically come there because they know we're going to be there, you know, and that's pretty humbling, man, you know, considering, you know, 1989, 1990, I worked in a wholesale shop. You know, I mean, I've done this for a while, but I never really got into the show thing. I mean, not
Mhm.
long after that was the first Daytona, which I believe was in Orlando, if I'm not mistaken. But,
Yeah. Yep.
you know, it was, you know, and shows had just first really kind of started being a thing, you know, during that era. And we were more wholesale than we were retail. We sold to pet stores. We sold to the public, but we mainly sold
Mhm.
to pet stores. And then, you know, the main owner kind of spun out, and I ended up back in the kitchen, you know, working again instead of working at the reptile store. But ever since then, man, I'd always had a taste. I wanted to get back into this some kind of way. Some kind of way I wanted to get back into this. And finally at 47, 45, I don't even remember how old was I in 2016, 46. Yeah.
Mhm.
So at 46, we kind of started this journey, and it started out to just be a hobby for me and my son to do together, and it's turned into a pretty good business.
Yeah. You said something about the effect of making somebody feel special and valued. I think that's a massively important point. And one of my experiences has been, don't get discouraged if the first shows aren't great. If they are great, fantastic. It's a high, like you blow your mind. Like, here's this hobby that is now turned into a pile of cash. It's the most amazing thing. It's a wonderful feeling. But if it doesn't start hot, which it didn't for me, I remember my very first show, I sold an Enchi for $72, and that was it. And then I had a zero show after that. And thank God I had forced myself to pay for 10. I paid for 10 shows before I ever vended my first one, so I wouldn't quit. And by the fourth, fifth, just what you're talking about, people start coming back just to see you. And people, it's a relationship. It's the trust. Hey, that last one was healthy. Hey, Adam checked on me. Just the way you're talking about, with you give all the information and the care sheets and all, you know, we all have our own little style. And I'm so thankful for all that experience, because that's what I was terrified when I moved here to the Midwest. I was like, man, I'm starting over again. And I just felt like I had so much momentum, and here I go leaving it. And that mindset is what has gotten the wheels just clicking here, man. I mixed analogies, whatever it was, the wheels spinning here, man. Things are going great, you know? And that you encapsulated it perfectly, man, making people feel special and appreciated, and genuinely appreciating people and being thankful for the opportunity that they're giving you to be their supplier is just, it's so valuable. And expressing that to customers goes such a long way too, man. I think that's really, really valuable insight you just provided there.
No, I appreciate it. I mean, you know, it's always nice to see people. We've got, you know, we've got friends that are, well, I keep wanting to say Arlington, like I'm so sad about all the crap with that show, but the, you know, I wish it could have just stayed where it was and everybody'd be happy. But you know, they turned it into an art gallery and had to move it. So you know, now it's in a new place, and they just announced today that people can't sell retics and berms, and are really the only kind of python that can be sold is a ball python. You know that sort of thing. So they're looking for somewhere else, and it's kind of, you know, it's the furthest drive for me, but I almost consider it my home show.
Oh, wow.
You know,
okay.
Because I mean, we know more people there. You know, I have more friends there. It's kind of where I cut my teeth vending. You know, and as far as the larger show, we did a few local shows here with not very much success. And, you know, then I did that first one, I did it by myself, you know, and then, you know, we couldn't get into Tinley that next year. So we did the Arlington, missed Tinley, then the Arlington that my wife did, then Tinley again, Schaumburg. I've done St. Louis twice. And then we got Tinley coming up here in what, five weeks, I think. So
I was going to say, yeah,
you know,
we're right at 5 weeks out from it.
I'm pretty stoked about that, because you know the spring show is when I have my best stuff. My animals tend to go later in the year. I
was going to say it's a trade off. A lot of people have it in October. I'm interested to see what the spring version is going to be.
Yeah, well, and the thing I think that's always worked in our advantage at the spring shows is how late our females lay eggs. I mean, we get around 75% of our clutches that hatch on September 1st or after. You know, maybe even more than that. I don't know. I'm pulling that kind of out of my head, but you know, it's quite a bit. You know, that hatches. I remember well for last year, fall. Let's see, what are we now? We're spring Arlington. You know, I've got 2 tables. I couldn't even fill 4 displays, you know, because I had nothing. And, you know, and then everything started, you know, everything hatches all at once. I think St. Louis was our last show. We did a little Repticon here locally, but it was our last big show. And, you know, we were, I think clutch 9 had just hatched when we were leaving for there. I had 4 new clutches to take with me, or 5, and that was late November. You know, I mean, it was like, you know, so I mean, we've got our last one just hatched last week, and I've already had the first ovulation a couple of days ago of 2024. So it's gonna. I did have to turn my incubators off this year, but it's only going to be for a little while, you know.
Yeah, I got one in the incubator already. I'm lucky on that. I'm excited for it. Brian, let's take just a quick break. Guys, stick around for Brian Carter from BC's Balls, Knoxville, Tennessee. Couple comments really quick. Main Squeeze Reptiles. Check out the very first part of the show. Brian talks a little bit about a lot of that. And then after the break here, we're going to get into some logistics and some of the really nerdy stuff that I love of processes, systems.
I do too.
How do you keep that stuff going? I love that, especially from a production background, food production myself, but a production background. So we're going to get to that. But Main Squeeze, check out the front end of the episode when you get a chance on the replay on that. Guys, I know you heard us talking about it. You see Brian's shirt. Check out REDLINE shipping. As we were talking about earlier, look, prices are good, discounts are good, but at the end of the day, you want your animals taken care of, and you want a team on your side. And they got the best team in the industry, the best user interface. Your experience is going to be great. Call them. Ask them one time for advice on what to ship, how to ship, when to ship. It's there for you. It's just call them. It's right there. It's right on their website. So Check it out. Use the promo code PROPER5 for $5 off your next shipping label. And Brian has one too. That's your cue, Brian. Brian has one too. I think he muted himself. I think it's BC60. Is it BCS 60 or BC 60, Brian? I had it already. I was excited. We were going to do a dual promo. All right. Brian's going to figure out a sound and come back. So also check out shedtesting.com. That's Charlie at Gray Rider. Charlie has invested furiously into his business. Also customer service oriented. He'll get your shed test back to you faster than the competition. The narrative that he has only limited opportunity and tests available, watch that change. I guarantee you, puzzles on the way. Monsoon tests are on the way. Charlie has the lab relationships now to be able to generate his own shed tests. Mark my words, guys. He's already got the customer service part figured out. And now he's figured out this creating his own shed tests part of it figured out. I'm telling you, the guy's on fire, and I'm excited to be a part of his experience and what he's got going on. So shedtesting.com, give him a shot. Use the promo code PROPER15, and that's good for 15% off of 2 orders. 2 orders. Order to me sounds like you could send, a batch of sheds. I haven't clarified with him, but he knows what he committed to here. So check out Charlie at shedtesting.com. That is Charlie from Gray Rider Reptiles. Brandon Nixon, super high-end breeder, and I don't mean high-end just in caliber. I mean in the care that he puts in. Check out his Instagram for incredible clarity. You'll see what I'm talking about. He's a wizard on the camera, and that translates to his snakes and his animals. It's Brandon Nixon. He specializes in the orange morphs. Look at his logo. You can see it there. Sunset, Ultramel, Monarch, and Hypo. He's been a good friend to me personally, and check him out. You're in good hands if he can help you out on your snakes. Portuguese Python. That's Danny and Renee Rocha. I got to check on them. They're out in Chino, California, just east of LA, the Inland Empire there. I hope all is well. Blessings to them. They're fantastic people. I know for sure they just had a super blackhead clutch of Ultramel, super blackhead Ultramel clutch. And I personally own a 1.3 from them in the Pied Ultramel project. So if any of that talks to you, go check out their products. They're amazing people. I can't wait to see them and hang out sometime. Danny and Renee Rocha, Portuguese Pythons. Trevor at Ball Labs out in Aurora, Colorado. If you get a chance to go see him, likewise. He's been keeping for 20 years, been breeding ball pythons for 15 now. He's running Puzzle, Ultramel, Clown, VPI, Xanthic, and Tri-Stripe. He's also, if you're in the Denver, Aurora area, he has just greatly invested and expanded his rodent operation as well. Check it out. For those of y'all that roll your eyes at things as, blase as Clown, VPI, and Tri-Stripe, how about Monsoon, Zebra, and Sunset as well? Check out Trevor. He knows what he's doing. He's a great guy. Last but not least is Chris at B and S Reptilia, my original show sponsor. Still proud to be aligned with Chris at B and S. Chris also is my vending partner at Tinley. Come out and see us in March. Chris may or may not be there in person, but he'll be there. You know what I'm saying? He's Reptilia for a reason. Ball pythons, blood pythons, boa constrictors, locality boas, colubrids, pituophis. Check him out. He's got what you need in the reptile world. He's in Pennsylvania, super knowledgeable, incredible help. He's been a good friend and a mentor to me as well. He's also the regional distributor of the Chipper Cocoa. Thank you all. Audience, thank you all. 67 of you still hanging out. That means 10 of you went away when I told you about the people that make this possible. Those are the people that allow me to have great conversations with people like Brian every week and to dedicate the amount of time it takes to booking and putting these shows together. I'm incredibly thankful for the sponsors. Thank you all for hanging out. We got another half hour or so to go. We're trying to keep it at 90 minutes. Nobody needs a 5-hour marathon on a Tuesday night podcast. There's always another Tuesday night. We can get Brian back. So Brian, thanks for what I was trying to pitch it up to you. What's your promo code for REDLINE again?
I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I hear you.
I can't hear you at all. Do you want me to go out and go back in?
Sure. Yeah, try that.
I'm
going to buy some time a little bit. We can hear you talking out loud.
I'm going to close out and come back in.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Oh, we still see you, Brian, if you can hear me. There we go. All right. So, guys, we're going to get Brian right back to set the stage for what we're going to get into. First off, Robin, thanks for the kind reference there. You've been mighty good to me, man. I appreciate it. To set the context for the next segment, I believe, and this is just my experience and how I've found I can get through life. As you scale up and as you get bigger at anything, speaking of big operations, I'm sure Robin would attest to this, but I know Brian and I were talking about this behind the scenes and in the show prep. Having a structure, having a process, having a system for how you do things, when you do things, it becomes vitally important. That went back to my days in restaurants. You can't hope to wing it with a staff. You can't hope to wing it with recipes. If you think about restaurants, other than doctors, we're the only people that are given blessing to give somebody to put something into their body, and spare me the jokes. I get it. But in all seriousness, we're giving you something to ingest and that you're supposed to enjoy and love. And how do we get that right? How do we make that safe on a regular basis and a consistent basis? Because if it's inconsistent, you're probably not going to come back, especially in a highly competitive world like restaurants. And how we do that is systems and processes. And one of the things that I've been able to apply most from my restaurant production days is systems and processes. I'm sorry, I'm staring at the camera up there instead of this camera. It's live. We work it out, right? I need Brian to come back here. So one of the things that's translated the best from my restaurant days is systems and processes. And what does that look like? What's the context of it? So I actually use on my iPhone, I use a program. Apple used to have an app, or there used to be an app on the App Store. I think it's still there. It's called Things. Apple kind of co-opted them, or at least copied their style. And they have a thing called Reminders. And Reminders is what I use. And it is a checklist. It is a to-do list. But it, of course, has the Apple Touch with scheduling, alerts. You could prioritize things. Brian, I was giving a little context to this whole systems and processes, and I was talking about I use an app called Reminders. I schedule everything on Reminders.
I've got 44 weekly reminders set on my phone. That remind me to do certain things. Actually, what's kind of ironic that you were talking about that is a reminder went off. I wasn't on Do Not Disturb. I closed that reminder out and sound just left. That's what
that was.
Yeah, that was my planned pairings for the week reminder, because tomorrow's pairing day.
So here's mine, and all I really need to show off is, to Brian's point, I have 75 tasks.
Yeah.
It's not because I'm so busy. We all have 75 tasks in our life. How do you remember to pick up your kid? How do you remember to get bread at the grocery store? How do you remember, which animal to pair and all of that? 75 tasks is not all that crazy. It's organized there for me. I don't have to spend all day going, what do I do next? What do I do next? And I know we love saying that we have this rhythm and that we're so on it. We know what we do. There's always something that goes wrong. There's a valve that pops off on a rodent. There's an animal that spent 30 minutes last night on a hatchling that has some blockage. It was inflated like a balloon. It couldn't fart. It couldn't pass gas. You don't plan for those things, and that's what throws you off from your rhythm. So what do you talk about some of your systems and processes, Brian, and what gets you through your days and your operation that's even bigger than mine?
Well, I saw early on that I had to, I live by the kind of center there. I live by the schedules, you know what I mean? Once it got to the point that I wasn't doing everything every day, you know what I mean? When I had 30 snakes, 40 snakes, you know what I mean? I'm looking in on them every day. If something needs to be cleaned, it is, with this number of snakes, it has to be scheduled. 250 adults, 400 hatchling tubs. I've got the hognose tubs. I've got the rodent room. And I'm like, okay, how can I schedule this out so everything, so Monday is adult feeding day, and then I do the grow outside of the rodent room because I just emptied 3 to 4 tubs of rodents feeding, and now I can just put the new tubs in that my son's made me and rotate them around. It's not easy, but it's easier, than it would be on another day. And then Tuesday I do the rodent colonies and I do the weans and I pull pups and fuzzies and all that stuff out of the rat colonies because I know Wednesday is hatchling feeding day, and that is a full day almost in itself because of the hatchlings almost always make a mess while they eat. So that's 140 cleanups. That's 140 rats to thaw out or to pull. I do feed my for sale hatchlings predominantly frozen thawed, but it's not for the same reason a lot of people do. It's not so I can tell people they're on frozen thawed because I don't even specify that on Morph Market. Because in a small FB10 tub, or even the mini ARS tub, in a temperature controlled room with perfect humidity, perfect temps, the whole 9 yards, they're gonna eat. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna take. They're gonna take whatever I put in there because I'm coming in with so many. It just sets the room up, and everybody's in feeding mode. My thumb's always got scabs on it. From those little shits coming out and nabbing you, but. So Wednesday, that pretty much takes care of Wednesday. Thursday, I do all of the deep cleans. I deep clean generally each time an adult or in an adult tub, each time it sheds. That's when I'll pull the tub and do a good deep clean and disinfect. So I've got all those are tagged with, I just use binder clips. I've got my system. I just, if there's a binder clip in the center, there's a feeder in. If it's on the right side, it needs to be deep cleaned. If there's 2 on it, that means we're doing a change, either a tub change. People always ask me what I do when, I have an adult or sub-adult that goes off food, 1,000-gram wall, that sort of stuff. I just tell them the stuff I do. What I mean? First thing I do is good deep clean, and if that doesn't work, toss in a hide. If that doesn't work, we move down a tub size. If that doesn't work, we just wait. I mean, that's just how it works. But I try very prey items, but and then Friday I pretty much save for doing the hognose and then all those other things that you're talking about. What I mean? Like if I noticed, the hatchling bedding is getting a little bit, long in the tooth. I mean, I might pick, 50 that I'm gonna deep clean on a Friday. Or if I need to run errands, I'll take care of that. At this point, most of the rodent food and everything's delivered, so I don't have to go anywhere for that. Somebody says I use color-coded magnets on the ARS racks. Well, half my racks are ARS, half my racks are Freedom Breeder. So since they're stainless steel, the magnets will only work on one of them. So it's just what works, for me. It's like, this might seem daunting to someone with just a few snakes, but I mean, you could pull any snake out of a list and I could go straight to its tub and tell you where it is, and I'm moving around all the time. I mean, you get to know your room if you spend the time in it. You get to know your animals, and to me, that's the most important process that one can take in the beginning, is taking the time to actually get to know your animals. And somebody asked earlier, when did you consider it a business or something, right before the break?
Sure. Yep.
And for me, that was the day I decided to do this. I mean, it wasn't, it was a concept, what I mean, at the time, but it was I feel like a well thought out concept that, I wanted to go a certain direction. And in 2016, we started buying animals. We started buying equipment with money that we had saved. We used our own capital there. I tried not to borrow any more than I had to. Did use some, those 0% credit card checks they send you that you,
those are nice, right?
Paid off in 12 months. I mean, if I needed, to do something like that. Plus, I was still working in dealership as the general manager, so my salary was quite a bit higher. And I was just steadily building and building and building. We didn't pair our first snake until the winter of 2018. I wanted to take, like I said, 2 years. It's not like I haven't had ball pythons. I had a ball. If I could go back in time, all those imports that we were bringing into the shop in 1989 and 1990, we had morphs in there. We didn't even know it. We just, we always thought that the ones that came in that had the white up the sides crawled funny. Those were spiders, and we know that now. But at the time, we just thought it was just kind of a weird looking ball python. I mean, and
Yeah.
honestly, I jokingly say if I could go back in time and change any one thing, it would be to open those crates then with the knowledge I have now, and I might be in a different place. But I wouldn't do that. I don't think I'd do anything differently. Because I
Well,
mean,
and
I'm
it's
pretty
not
happy
real
where I am.
either.
Yeah, and I'm pretty happy
It's
where I am.
yeah.
I mean, we decided to do. I say we decided to do this. I decided to do this, and my wife begrudgingly came along. Now, over the time, she was just concerned it was going to be one of those, you know, oh, he's into this for 6 months, and now the golf
Yeah,
clubs are
midlife
sitting,
crisis.
that
Yeah.
kind of thing. But once she saw my passion for it, and she saw how people interacted at shows, and saw, honestly the sales, and the stuff coming in,
Yeah.
she realized, I mean, this is a very viable industry, but it needs to be done responsibly. I mean,
Mhm.
just throwing any old two snakes together to make more snakes is not a viable business strategy. You need to have a vision for what you want to produce. People say breed what you like. And I've had so many different opinions on that from day one to now through the evolution. I think it's important that you do work with what you like. That's in direct contradiction to something I said on John Feely's podcast, because, at the time I was in the middle of my best show ever, and we're rocking and rolling, and
Right.
and it was
Just breed what they want. Yeah, exactly.
and it was one of those shorts, where I had like 5 or 6 minutes at the show, and he asked me if you could give one piece of advice, and I
Mm.
said, the phrase "breed what you like" gets thrown around, and in reality, it really doesn't matter in this setting what you like. It's what the person across the table from you likes and is looking for. Now, I've come to kind of be of the opinion that there has to be an intersect of the two at some point for
Right.
long term success. There are genes that I'm not at all, uh, that I have brought in, but it's not to make more of them. It's to incorporate that into a larger project. At time frame. And then there's genes that people love that I don't, and I'm sure there's genes that I love that people don't. I mean, everything here is always going to be clown centric. People say clowns are overproduced. People say there's too many clowns, this and that. Clowns, I mean, to me, there's no gene that is like clown. And,
Right.
I still remember the day I decided to do this, or that I got the twinkle that I was going to do this. My son wanted a second ball python. He's got one. He's got a normal in his room that's 16 years old. We went over to a breeder's house, a local old school breeder with racks built into the wall and the whole 9 yards, just like we had in the shop in 1989. Nothing had changed. And, my son ended up buying a pinstripe yellow belly male or something. It was, $75 snake, something like that.
Hmm.
And as I was walking out, I saw a snake crawl across the front of the semi-clear tub. And I said, "What's that?" And I didn't think it was a ball python. I thought he was going to say it's an albino Brazilian rainbow boa or something like that, and because
Yeah.
I mean, I could just see like a blurry image, and he's like, "Oh, that's a killer clown," and I'm like, "Well, what the fuck's a killer clown?"
Right.
I mean, let's. And so he pulled it out, and he was like, "Yo, Troy, what's up, buddy?" He said it's a super pastel clown, which means it's gonna throw pastel on everything, and and it's a clown, which is a recessive gene. I'm like, man, these have come a long way, because I mean,
Right.
I still remember when the first albino came in. That was around the same time we had the shop. Nobody was breeding ball pythons before the albino. I mean,
No. Yeah.
everybody was buying farm raised, or everybody was buying you just straight up yanked out of the Termite Mountain imports, and we
Yeah.
had a very low success rate getting those guys to eat, getting them to do well. They had to be I mean, I still remember spending hours and hours just picking ticks off ball pythons, like
Yeah.
all day long. I mean,
Terrible.
just pulling, But when they came out of the bags, this was before they were picked through. These were just ball pythons thrown in a bag. They were tied to like a wooden dowel that was through the crate in these bags that were really dusty with the red dirt. I mean, it was like literally put in a box in Africa, shipped here through customs, comes to us,
Yeah.
and to think how far we've come from heat rocks and import ball pythons that don't eat, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. There's so much information available to us now that it really makes it easier for us to help someone become a better keeper. And,
Right.
but on the flip side of that, there's somebody out there right now, possibly even watching this podcast, that's looking back behind me saying, God, that's so cruel that he keeps those snakes in those little tubs. So it's all perspective, and it's all, how you view it and what your view of it is versus other people's. Me having
Oh,
ball pythons since the late 80s, I can tell you I've never had ball pythons more acclimated and doing better than I do right now in these times.
right. Yeah. I was
And
going to say
and
it's easier to be better and better educated and have better results. And even just in the past year and a half, now we have this shed testing phenomenon. Talk about back to the future kind of technology, man. Holy cow. I mean, we can do this. I mean, people's, I wouldn't say they pop out of their head. People's like dinner parties. Adam, what do you do? Oh, well, inevitably, what do you do? Well, all right. Am I gonna tell them I'm a restaurant consultant that is kind of at the end of that career, or am I gonna tell them about what I love? I'm gonna tell them about what I love. And they're just like, what? And then I get into they can't believe I have an ultrasound. They're like, I have people that are like, well,
that
like,
blows people's minds.
Yeah, they're like, can we like look at our baby? I'm like, no, I'm not touching your wife. That's not gonna happen. But then, yeah, I'm like, well, no, we can test genetically, and I can guarantee, I can assure people of what's in there. I can assure myself of what's in there. And then, same way you get talking about recessives and dominance, and it's like, but it's amazing.
Just think about it, and think about how far, and I think as I get older, I think about things like this more. But, I think about what I'm on right now. I mean, there's an iPhone and a little flippy holder sitting on a Printer Breeder rack shelf, talking to a guy live in Minnesota about ball pythons to an audience of I don't know how many people, but I mean quite a few. I mean there was over.
We'll reach. I guarantee in a week we'll reach 800 people. Yeah, I mean, and there was 80 people here earlier. Yeah,
and I think about my great grandfather, who I spent the first 7 years of my life living with my great grandparents, who were alive during the Great Depression. So I mean, this is so removed from this era. But I remember when the phone would ring. And it was just a phone, just a dial, like, just a phone.
Yeah.
He would always get want my great grandmother to answer it, and then hand him the phone because he wasn't sure how to answer it. Like all you had to do was pick it up and say hello. But he just, he could drive the shit out of a tractor. But when it came to answering a phone, like to tell him that, I could transfer $40,000, watch a live sporting event and, all this from this device in my pocket that has 11,000 pictures on it, I mean, it would blow his mind. So we look at what genetic testing is right now. It's the rotary phone. I mean,
it is. It's super early.
There's going to come a time, probably in the next 5 or 6 years, that it's going to be available to the point that it's not going to be that hard for people to do their own genetic testing. Not that much unlike we ultrasound now, where that never was the case before. And you can just take a shed of a baby and pop it in there and it just spit out what the hell it is. I mean, I really do believe that technology is not that far away. And
not to touch a nerve, but it's not to touch a nerve with anybody, but it's what we do for COVID tests. You get your little is the genetics or the bacteria in there. I know bacteria and genetics are different things, and I know it's not a clear, easy analogy, but it could be. Imagine you can order up I need 5 clown shed tests at home, and you get your vials and you shake it, and does the little line appear, or does it turn purple or whatever? Hey, it's heifer clown.
Yeah, and I'm not a scientist. I don't know exactly how all that works. I know just enough to be dangerous trying to discuss it, but I'm pretty good friends with Patrick McKnight, and he goes through all of it in great detail, and I probably absorb maybe 3 to 5% of what he says because it's so far over my head. But I mean, when he was helping develop that, and we were sitting in sheds and stuff like that, like he and Dr. Ben worked together to develop that, and it's just
Dale's right. It is a virus. It's not genetics. It's not bacteria. It's a virus. Thank you, Dale. Yes, I got it. It's in the name. I got it. I screwed it up.
But I get. I mean, you made the point though. I mean, it's
right. It's going to happen.
That, something that we didn't even know existed 3 years ago. Now you can run in the store for $9.99 and have a 90-something% accurate test. In the privacy of your car without having to subject anyone else to your illness. I mean,
that's true. Yeah,
it's pretty pretty cool.
At the time, it was probably my best metrics show. I had Dr. Seidel on the show, and she was one of the people heading up genetic testing research.
UCM. Yeah, she's.
Yeah. And it was funny. I won't name names, but there were two very prominent breeders that one of them snapped, and one of them turned part of my discussion with her into a reel, and then they proceeded to knock. Oh yeah, that'll work great because you could trust what people are doing. Oh, you're just gonna have them send you their sheds. Yeah, that'll work. Right. And I'm good friends with one of them now, and I'm like, yeah, how'd that reel play out for you, buddy? This is pretty good stuff, huh?
Well, I mean, nobody knew, and it's like I remember we were at the beach last year when the initial DG finding came out, and I mean, my phone. I try not to be on my phone when I'm on vacation, but it's just impossible to not at least check it every once in a while. And man, I mean, my phone lit up like a Christmas tree, and it was like, man, did you hear about DG? DG's going to go through the floor. It's going to be terrible. It's polygenic and everything. I'm like, are they sure? They're like, well, no, but they think they found it, and it's like 80% chance. And, I'm sitting back thinking, I'm like, man, DG was discovered the same year banana was. That's like just now finding out that bananas has a sex link thing. You know what I mean? It's like, wow. I'm having a really hard time with thinking that something that was found in 2003 is not actually recessive, it's polygenic. I just believe results would be way more skewed across clutches. I mean, somebody like Justin who's producing, I don't know if he's producing thousands. Take the bells. The bells are producing thousands of desert ghost animals,
there you go.
And then, you don't think maybe they would have been like, when we breed clowns, we get a lot more visuals than when we breed desert ghosts, you know what I mean? And then they eventually found out that DG sees all that really matters in the visual expression of the gene, and it is indeed a simple recessive as it once thought it was. So, it's like, but it's one of those things to where that's what I mean. It's kind of in its infancy, and I think we need to give these guys a little bit of a break because, did they maybe jump the gun? Maybe, you know what I mean? I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm not a scientist enough to have an opinion on it. But at the time, I think they presented what they thought was actually going on, and they thought they had found something out that would be groundbreaking, and it just turned out to not be the case.
Well, and they had facts and data, and full disclosure, full transparency. I don't work with DG, so it was real easy for me to go on to bigger and better things. I had no dog in the fight, so I wasn't overly concerned about it. But I think interpretation of data can be skewed sometimes. And then what happens is a vicious game of telephone. So they present data, and then in this world of instant, just like you were saying, we can reach so many people so fast. All those people are jumping to their conclusions, and then they're telling you on vacation, hey, did you hear what happened? And so they're explaining what they understood.
Oh yeah, it blew up overnight, and it was just it was just one of those things that I was concerned for a minute that it would hurt the genetic testing efforts more than it did, because it did. I don't know, and my perception of it is that the initial findings were found to be incorrect. That's my that's my stance on it. But at the same time, I fully believe that they said what they believed to be true based on sound science. And even after DGC was determined to be the factor, whether it's a visual desert ghost or not, and it had 100% success rate across the test, and you're like, okay, well, that makes sense. But if you went by DGA or DGB being in a homozygous form, it was still 86% correct, I think. So, you had of course, I'm not going to guarantee a gene based on 86%. I don't even call something a codom unless I'm 95+% sure that it's there based on the expression. But, it's just one of those, one of those things that I think people, kind of jump the gun a little bit, but at the same time, I work a lot with DG, and I love the gene, and I wish I would have gotten it sooner, but it was kind of like, whoa, wait a minute, what? My two visual DGs might not make more visual DGs,
right?
How does this work?
Well, and I think also here's the other thing too. We forget that there's a thing called the scientific method, where it doesn't say you do science, you get perfect results.
Right.
Science is an evolution as well. And so you start with your hypothesis and you come to a conclusion, and there's a method, and that's why we go through it. But there's nothing that says, all right, at the end of that conclusion, there can be a new hypothesis. And that's what happened, was a series of new hypotheses that proved that that initial conclusion wasn't correct. And that is new to us, because basically genetics is fairly simple in ball python world, and it's fairly predictable. So when there was something new, it made headlines. But in the real world, scientific evolution and analysis, that stuff happens all the time. We thought it was this, we were 86% correct, but it's actually this. And now here's something to consider and to take into account in your daily life. How do we hear that all the time in life?
Right on. I mean, it's, you know, and I think, you know, I don't know. I think, you know, people just need to kind of chill out overall, you know, a little bit.
Well,
I
tell you though, if I had
so worked up about some of the craziest things, man. I mean, it's like, you know, and I'm sure I do too. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not guilty of the same thing, but it's, you know, it's like, is it really worth being that stressed about this or that? And I mean, one of the reasons I started doing this was to avoid stress. And
that's true.
It's a hell of a lot more work than what I would have done on a daily basis at a corporate job. But it's a hell of a lot more fun, and it's a hell of a lot more rewarding, and it's more relaxing. It's almost cathartic. It's like even cleaning the rat room, you know, arguably the suckiest job there is so cathartic, because it's just me and my AirPods, and, you know, I listen to podcasts, I listen to other things, and, you know, it's sometimes I just listen to music, you know what I mean? It's, it's, you know,
I think I get really clear thinking done when, like you say, it's cathartic. I'm sitting there looking at my dish pit over here, just scrubbing tubs, man. Like, it's so repetitive, it's almost hypnotic, but then you can think without distraction and just think. I don't have a customer, 60 staff members, my boss, and another member, a client member at me when I just want to get one thing done. And I enjoy it as well.
Well, there's a great movie. There's a great movie quote from Legend of Bagger Vance. I don't know if you've seen that or not. It's a golfing movie, but he says, you know, he learned how to think without getting his own way. You know, and I mean, so sometimes you need a minute to just think without getting in your own way, you know, and for me, that's those daily tasks that you do that, you know, sometimes they're mundane as hell, man. How many times can you scrub an FB40 or an ARS-55, reload it with cypress mulch, put a new water bowl in it, fill it out, put it back in, put a snake in it before it becomes monotonous, you know what I mean? But, you know, it's just, sometimes nothing is better than something. We were having this discussion on a Discord arguing whether cruises are good or not, you know, and I'm like, I'm not suited for a cruise at all. Because when I go on vacation, to me, traveling and going on vacation have two completely different definitions. You know, traveling, you're wanting to tour and go here and go there. My idea of a vacation is 7 days of no schedules. If I hear an alarm clock, a phone's getting thrown off the balcony. You know, I mean, like,
right?
No schedule at all for a week, and let's just sit on the beach and chill and drink some beers and blow the speaker out and burn the batteries up in it this week, and let's listen to the entire Led Zeppelin box set, you know.
I dig that, man. Brian, where can people see you next, man? We're coming to the part of the show where I gotta go be a dad and get my son to bed and do a little family time.
And I can talk all night. So we'll be at Tinley and I think 5 weeks. I think it's March 16th and 17th. Then we'll be in Dallas, Schaumburg, basically the NARBC shows.
Okay.
I've toyed. I'm not 100% sure how, like, St. Louis has a football game conflict this year, and it hasn't traditionally been a great show. So I'm considering maybe canceling that show this year and picking up something closer, maybe a Charlotte or an Atlanta, or, something around that, that area, later in the year for a November or December show. But I don't want to do a show every month. I'm content to do 6, 7 shows a year, something like that. My skill set is better suited. honestly, my age and my back and my knees and everything else are better suited to selling online than it is lugging all this stuff into shows every single weekend. And I've got a pretty strict procedure when I come home from a show, and I don't want to put my animals through that any more than I absolutely have to.
Yeah, there's that part of it too, is exactly true. Before I forget, actually, this is also very important. Before I forget, I want to say thanks to everybody that came to check out Brian that maybe hasn't seen the show
absolutely.
before.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, it was kind of, I promise you, usually the camera's a little bit better. Brian had some audio interruption from the reminders, but I enjoy it. We do it every Tuesday night. And if you enjoyed the show tonight, this is what we do. So I hope you'll consider coming back and subscribing and liking and all that. And if you have feedback, let me know. I take pride on listening to feedback as well. And Brian's, those of y'all that don't know Brian, his information is right down in the description, and it'll take you right to his Morph Market page, and you can check out his collection and message him there as well.
Yeah, and if you if you want to know more about us than what's just in a Morph Market profile, I do have bcsballs.com. That's my website. That's got some information. While we use Redline, that our code is there again, so I don't have to repeat it. You can go there and get it. It's got a PDF copy of our care sheet, a little bit about our family, our journey, how we got here, things like that. A lot, just more of an about us than it is really a selling thing, a selling tool. But it does link to our Morph Market page as well, so you can, jump over there. No matter who you're going to buy from, research the seller, read reviews, ask around, because most of us know the rest of
That's
us.
true. We know each other. That's right. That's right. It's small.
So, I've got my trusted network, just like I'm sure you've got your trusted network and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't mind jumping out of my network a little bit if I know it's from a good small breeder, because I love to do business with I don't want to say the smaller breeder, because that's almost insulting. It's but the hobbyist level breeder, that sort of thing. The niche level breeder, like I know, was it Robbie? And I'm going to say this wrong. Arjen, maybe.
Arjen Reptiles. Robbie's fantastic.
Small collection, absolute fire coming out of his room.
Every bit of it.
I would trade him my room for his room. I'll put it that way. And he has probably a fourth of the snakes we do. But I see him at shows, just a positive guy. Shout outs to all those guys, Troy being in there, Brandon Nixon, good friend of mine. I know Danny and Renee, see them at all the shows. I think most of your sponsors, I know.
I was going to say I do vet them, and I won't just slap anybody up there. But guys, check out Brian. Thank you for being here. Next week I got a special episode with Robin from Redline Shipping. Stay tuned to find out more about that. Why I say special episode, I'm still kind of formulating how that one's going to go. But always good when Robin joins us, and I promise you it's a little departure from our usual stuff. So I hope you'll check us out next time. Brian, I will see you in Tinley. I'll see you in person.
Yeah,
and stick around for just a minute. Thanks so much for being here. Audience, y'all have been awesome tonight. Thanks for all the support. Big numbers. Cheers. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time, guys.
See you guys. Thank you.